Hey YouTube, welcome to Jack's Low Carb Journey episode 36. We won't be doing a weight report today because we are going to go to weigh-in Wednesdays just because I like markety sounding things, and weigh-in Wednesday sounds better than weigh-in Monday. I will tell you though, sneak peek ahead, it's good news. Yeah, the weekend was good to me again. So maybe we'll start doing Monday, weigh-in weekends. That doesn't work. Weigh-in Wednesday, you'll have to tune in on Wednesday's episode to find out where I am at in my journey. I will say something about this whole journey. I've been getting ready for the fall workshop at my place, which is part of what I do with my podcast community. And we've been going through some old photos of some old workshops and seeing pictures of myself, specifically this giant gut that isn't a thing anymore, and realizing that even so some of those pictures are a couple of years old, like that in 60 days, the transformation when I look at myself in those pictures is pretty striking. I'm wondering if I get my ass to the barber by Wednesday for weigh-in Wednesday, if I might be able to lose a little bit of weight just getting my hair cut. Honestly, though, I might be carrying around about an extra half pound to a pound of hair right now. It's time to get things shaped up again, especially since we're going to be having so many people coming here. So today, what we're going to talk about is keto on a budget. And we're going to take a little bit of a different look at it than I think most people that talk about this on YouTube or in podcasts and things like that about keto do. They usually look at, well, I'm going to go to Aldi or I'm going to go to Costco and show you all the stuff you can buy on the cheap. And we're not going to not talk about that. We're going to kind of take a different approach to it, though. But I want to talk to you about something today first that's free that I think would be a really good motivational thing for any of y'all that are either doing keto or considering keto or even just low carb to watch. It's a documentary I found a couple weeks ago, and I've been meaning to tell you all about it, and I just haven't gotten to it. It's called The Magic Pill, and it's on Netflix, and I don't know if it's anywhere else, but it's on Netflix, and if you're a Netflix subscriber, you can watch it for free. In the video notes down there, I have posted for you a link to the trailer that's on YouTube and to where you can see the actual documentary on Netflix. Again, if you're a Netflix subscriber, if anybody knows of any other places that you can watch this without having to pay for it or what have you, let me know, and in a future episode I'll make sure that I make that resource available to you. It covers a lot of stuff. It follows a group of Aborigines in Australia and the things that they die of today that they never died of in the past. A group of them go to a camp for 2 weeks, and the transformation there is pretty amazing. There's a young girl that's autistic. They put her on a keto diet. That transformation, if it doesn't make your eyes water a little bit, you're not human. They follow quite a few different people. Leah Keith, who's one of my favorite peoples in it. Jill Salatin, one of my absolute favorite peoples in it. It is a very, very well done documentary. And it's one of those types of things that when people say this doesn't work, there's just so much irrefutable evidence at this point. And when people claim it's not environmentally friendly, there's also so much irrefutable evidence that that claim is untrue. This documentary does a great job of pointing both of those out. I hope at some point in the future to be asking you guys to help me out with my own documentary. This one's pretty inspiring toward what I want to do, but what I want to do I don't think's ever really been done before, but that's down the road. Let's talk about this keto on a budget idea here. I want to start off with something that I just don't ever hear anybody on YouTube or podcasts or anything when it comes to keto talk about when it comes to keeping a budget. And that is number one, first and foremost, eliminate waste. If you're buying salad greens, for instance, and you're buying organic salad greens in the clamshell, if you don't get through the big clamshell, even though the little clamshell might be a little bit more expensive per pound, it's probably less expensive per pound that goes in your body. So don't overbuy the things that expire, that go bad when you cook meat. Make sure that you put the meat that you don't eat somewhere where you can't forget about it, etc. The number one reason I think most people spend more than they should on food, no matter what type of diet they're eating, is what we throw away. Americans throw away as much as 40% of food that's purchased. Okay, I mean, we actually waste as much as 60% of food produced, but we throw away as much as 40% of the foods that we purchase. And so that's the number one thing. A lot of people, like when you talk about going off grid, energy saving, solar panels and stuff, they get really a little bit like perturbed for some reason when you say, well, the first place focus is efficiency. the big gap you can see under your door, let's take care of that, the gaps in your windows, etc., insulation. The number one place to start with energy is with the energy you already are using, and let's make it more efficient. With food, that's a big thing. And I want to say something else too. I've heard from a few of y'all, I don't know how you manage your budgets, and I feel for you. I don't know if you're eating any kind of a diet, how you get through a month with what you have for a budget. It's tough, and I can't fix your problem. If you're trying to survive on $75 a month or something like that, I think you need to work on the income side of things as much as you do on the outgoing side of things at that point. And I feel for you, and I understand, but I can't fix that. So I'm not going to try to figure out how you can live on $50 to $70 a month and do healthy keto. You're going to have to work that out for yourself. Again, I'm not talking down to anybody. I'm assuming that what we're trying to do is do keto for about the same cost as the average American spends on food in their life. Okay? That's where I'm coming from today. So number one, eliminate waste. Number two, consider things like buying whole chickens. A whole chicken costs a lot less per pound than buying chicken in parts. With one exception I'm going to give you here in just a second because I just thought of it because we just bought a bunch this weekend. And that doesn't, if you're buying organic chicken, it's less expensive to buy a whole chicken. If you are buying pasture chicken, it's less expensive to buy a whole chicken. If you are buying commercial chicken, because that's what you can afford, it's less expensive to buy a whole chicken. And when you buy a whole chicken, you've got skin, you've got bones, you can make stock. A person that's living on their own can conceivably get 4 or 5 meals or maybe more out of one standard chicken. If you are a Costco member, while I don't like using mass-produced meat any more than I have to, their rotisserie chickens are stupid cheap. $5 for a cooked chicken. And then we can still pull it apart. We can make, with coconut wraps, we can make chicken tacos or burritos. We can make chicken salad. We can make soup out of the leftovers and stock out of the bones, etc. Again, of course we would prefer that we're using a pastured bird or at least an organic bird, but again, like I've always said, factory meat and keto is probably healthier than factory grains and not keto. All right? Because just the body weight alone, and we'll talk about some other ways to mitigate that as well if you're doing, factory meat more than, once or twice a week. But the one place I'll say that I found really just to be ridiculously cheap is chicken legs at Costco when you're buying organic. A giant package, I've talked about this before, of like 3 individual packs, each with about 5 legs, and it's about $8 to $9.50, somewhere in that range, depending on how big those particular legs are, because they're priced by the pound, not by the package. We just bought some of those. It's high fat, it's got skin, it's organic, it's not as good as pastured, but it's damn good. The legs are cheaper than the thighs or the wings. So it's something to look at with that as well. But whole chickens is one of the best bangs for your buck you can get, and learn to take that bird apart. Learn to make stock. Learn to use every bit of that bird. And when I was broke, and I'm talking broke, all right, I'm talking making $180 a week and having to pay half the rent on an apartment back now it was 1993, but in a long time ago, still, it wasn't a lot of money. Whole chickens are one of the number one ways I fed myself back then before I got kind of up a little bit better in life. Next up, if you're going to use lower quality meats, then do it if you have to. If you have to buy, cheap, like petite sirloin or something like that, it's a fairly cheap cut of meat. Chuck eye, if you can find it, it's a great fatty cut of meat. But if you're going with things that are more of a factory meat, especially with beef, one of the things you really got to watch out for is the quality of the fat in that. So people are like, well, but I can't afford grass-fed ribeye, Jack. Okay, well then buy factory sirloin. Or if you're going to buy ground beef, buy 90% instead of 80-20. But buy the cheapest meat you can and buy lean, and then get your fat either from things like avocado oil, MCT oils, etc. And as I've talked about before, those oils seem expensive, but we're not going to drink them by the gallon. My wife and I use MCT oil. We share a giant bottle. $24 lasted us 2 months. We just finally killed one today. So there's ways that you can bring high quality fats, ghee, organic butter, etc., that are less expensive fats and bring that to your leaner meats. And that'll let you eat leaner, less expensive, non-pastured, non-grass-fed meats and minimize the fat from that source, because that's the real danger with that meat, with your health. Next up, buy bulk when you can. And I know for some of you on a budget, that's easier said than done, because sometimes, I only have the money, this much at a time. That's part of, but when you can, buy bulk. Buy bulk and get a vacuum sealer. If you can beg, borrow, steal one. Being able to buy bulk, break into individual components, vacuum seal that, and store it is great. Including, like I said, you can buy the chicken legs. We'll buy the big packs of chicken legs, make 2 or 3 packs at a time, break it into individual serving sizes, vacuum seal those, and freeze them cooked. That's going to help you minimize waste. It's going to help you buy in bulk. It's going to help you stick to your plan. Because even when you're like, man, I don't really have anything to eat today, you can always pull that out, throw it in a bowl, stick it in the sink, turn the water on, let the water run on it for a while. It'll defrost really quickly that way. You can get it heated up, cooked, defrosted, and on your plate in a matter of, less than 30 minutes that way. So that's another thing to consider. Next, don't confuse long-term stock items with individual meal costs. So sometimes people look and say, man, that looks like it's really expensive because I'll put together a cheese board or something like that. And there'll be like salmon on it and, some really nice cut meats and cheeses and stuff like that. And yeah, if you say, well, what did it cost you to put that board together? If I went out and bought all the stuff that's on that board that day, it might have cost $60, $70, $80. Some of that's your friggin' monthly budget. And if it is, you probably shouldn't be doing what I'm talking about here. But the truth is that board that you see that might have been $60, $70 worth of stuff back here, what ended up on the board was like $10, $12. Because, it's a handful of pecans. It's a little bit of capricola or something like that, right? It's a little bit of salmon, etc. It's not all of it. So all of the rest of that food still exists. A lot of things like butter and ghee and olive oil and avocado oil and stuff like that. You buy a bottle of that. Well, how long do you have it? Primal mayo. I love Mark's Primal mayo. It was stupid expensive. This also shop around. It was stupid expensive at Albertsons. I wanted to try, so I went ahead and paid for it. But I got a little bitty jar of it. It was like freaking $12. And I'm like, I told my wife, I love this stuff, but it's too expensive. It's just too expensive. And she said, well, you like making your own? I said, yeah, you know what? When you're buying avocado oil, I understand why this is expensive. Well, she comes back like a week later. Hey, look what I found you at Costco. Great big bottle of it. 3 times the size of the one at Albertsons for like $7. So shop around as well. But understand things like, avocado mayo and stuff like that. You're not, when you make a chicken salad and use the avocado mayo, right, you didn't put the entire jar in there. So make sure you're pricing your individual meals right when you figure out what it's really costing you to live this way. I think one of the reasons there's like a sticker shock syndrome when it comes to keto is people need to get rid of like 80% of the food that they have in their house. And that means they got to start from square one. It's almost like you moved and now you got to buy new groceries. So it seems really expensive, but a lot of that stuff's not an ongoing, always recurring cost. Like, yeah, you'll have to buy another bottle of avocado oil, but when? Another bottle of olive oil, but when? And if they don't all land on the same week, it's a lot easier to swallow the pill that way, so to say. Next, use frozen vegetables. I'm going to say it again. Use frozen vegetables. One more time. Use frozen vegetables. Albertsons Organics brand, this is like their, house organics brand. It's just called Organics. They're like organic broccoli, organic kale, stuff like that that's frozen is like within pennies of like Green Giant and stuff like that that's not organic. It's frozen. What that means is you cut the bag, you open it up, you take a handful out, cook with it, fold the bag back up, put a clip on it, throw it in a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer, and it's good for months. It's good for months. Where if you go out and buy a head of broccoli and you use half a head of broccoli and you kind of forget about it in the crisper drawer, by the end of the week it starts to ooze stuff and it's in the compost, fed to the birds, whatever, right? So we're kind of, this one links back to the one I led off with, focus on elimination of waste. Frozen vegetables are a way to save money and reduce waste at the same time. So 2 ways that we're reducing expense. Upfront purchase expense is lower. Long-term total cost is lower. Double win. You're stacking savings with that. And don't think that frozen vegetables are not nutritious. That is dumb thinking. In many instances, if you forget about that head of broccoli, it kind of turns light colored green. You know what I mean? It's like, I can still eat this. I can still eat this, but if I wait another day, it's going to go bad. It's lost a lot of nutritional value sitting in your crisper drawer. When they pick vegetables and they flash freeze them, they preserve the nutrition. Use frozen vegetables. When I grow more broccoli than I can eat, I bring it in the house. I blanch it, which means we steam it for so it's not fully cooked, just a little bit, it still turns bright green. We put it on a cookie tray. We throw it in the freezer. When it freezes solid, we put it in the bag and seal the bag up, vacuum seal it, put it away. And that way when we open it, we can, just like we get from the store, it's not all frozen in a chunk. If I freeze my own vegetables, I take the time to grow, I'm confident in freezing works. And when the commercial producers do it, they freeze it much quicker than I can. Use frozen vegetables. And when you see these vegetables that come in a bag, and the kind that you can find because it's what you're looking for as it's like a steamer bag or whatever, you don't have to, I don't care they said it's a steamer bag. It's a flippin' bag, folks. It's a bag. They just said it's a steamer bag because stupid people will buy it. You can still open it up, take out the part you want, wrap it back up, and put it away. You don't have to microwave steamer bag vegetables. They can be cooked any way you want to. It's marketing. It's just marketing. Don't forget that. Next up today, consider finding a source of local eggs. This will actually probably mean you will pay more for a dozen eggs than if you go to the store and just buy eggs. But you will probably pay less that way, especially with chicken eggs where people keep chickens, and get much higher quality eggs than you can get if you pay a premium for cage-free, whatever, organic eggs at the store. The reason being is what exactly cage-free, free-range, organic, etc. means is subject to a lot of interpretation. We don't have a lot of standardization in the egg world other than the word organic. We can say definitively what organic means and what it doesn't mean. What does cage-free mean? It means the bird itself is not in a cage, but it still may be in a giant thing that's still a cage. Pastured, you're pretty safe there, but you start end up paying, $6 a dozen for eggs when you see pastured. And I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying if you check around, like Craigslist and stuff, you may find people that are selling eggs for $2, $3 a dozen, and you can even go check out their place and see how they're raising their birds. And that you may check 2 or 3 places where you find one that you really like what they're doing, but it's a way to get top quality eggs for less money. Now, if you're buying them from me, we don't really sell much anymore. When we're selling duck eggs, we're $8 a dozen, and we didn't apologize for it. And I'll tell you what, though, there was no place, and there still isn't, the few people we sell our surplus to, you can't buy what we sell anywhere for the price we sell it. It's still less expensive for the quality. So with a budget, you got to adjust based on yourself. But look for local eggs. Think about your total cost in life, not just the cost of your food here. I've talked to people that, they do keto for 6 months. They stop taking metformin, pill-based or injectable insulin, within 6 months. They're off 4 or 5 different medications. And when I say, okay, well, you're spending more on your food, they'll say, yeah, well, what are you spending on your medication less? And some of them are paying $500, $600 a month less in medication costs. Some more. You can buy a lot of food with $400 to $600 a month. Now, here's the thing. Some of you are thinking, yeah, that's nice, Jack, but I'm not taking that crap. My health's not like that. Yeah, keep eating the shit from the supermarket with HFCS, and it might be. You can make this decision now to prevent that future expense, and many of you can reverse things so that the expense you're paying now you don't have. Think about the total cost, because I'm going to tell you what's expensive. Dialysis for your kidneys is expensive. Insulin for the rest of your life is expensive. High blood pressure medication for the rest of your life is expensive. Interventionist medical care for the rest of your life is expensive. Not being able to take a walk and feel okay, that's also expensive in another way. So think about the total cost here, not just what does my food cost. And last, be honest with yourself about what you were paying for food before you decided to go keto. Some of you guys, when you tell me that what I mean is expensive, and again, those of you that are really on low incomes or whatever, just you can take this to the side, all right? Don't take me as attacking you. But some of you, I'm like, bullshit. Because I saw what you were eating before you went keto, and there's no way you're actually spending more money now than you were then. Maybe you were spending less per calorie, but you were eating so much more damn food, right? And I find a lot of people that are like worried about the expense. You're the ones trying to make all this replacement therapy. You're trying to make pizza balls and cauliflower pizzas and stuff like that. And if you want to do that, that's fine. Again, I say to try to get off of that stuff for the first 30 to 40 days at least. Cure your addiction before you start messing around with, what do they call that stuff? Meth. When people are getting off meth or something, they give them, methadone, right? So before you start messing around with methadone, let's not take that approach. Let's get off of it altogether. But to me, I'm eating so much less total volume of stuff. I'm drinking less. When I look at it, I can make the case that we spend less money now to eat better than we did before. Because we're not piling snacks on top of snacks on top of snacks. And we're not going to run out and buy, another fifth of booze or whatever. We're drinking a lot more. We're eating a lot less. It's not cheap. I don't live a cheap lifestyle. I've worked hard so I don't have to. But I still think about the money that I spend. I spend a lot less money on grass-fed beef by using ButcherBox than buying grass-fed beef at the store. That's another thing. ButcherBox is a good way to save money. I'm not saying it's right for everybody. If you don't have $200 a month to feed yourself with, spending $160 a month on just ButcherBox is probably not a good idea. But if you're going to be eating grass-fed beef, I go to the store here at Albertsons, and they're selling a 10-ounce New York strip steak for about $18 if it's grass-fed. And I'm getting a 10-ounce strip steak when you do the math from ButcherBox for about $6, $7. Well, that doesn't take a genius. You don't have to use new math, what they call it, Common Core math, to figure out it's a better deal to use ButcherBox. So think about, again, the total cost of things and be smart about your purchasing decisions and figure out where the best place is to buy the things that you buy the most often. And instead of being on a Saturday running to 7 different stores, on one weekend, make your Costco or your Aldi run. On your other next weekend, make your grocery store run. Be smart about how you're storing your food. And I'd love your tips. How do you save money on this? And you might want to go check the video I did on if you have to eat factory meat quite a few episodes ago. I'll put a link in the notes as well for that, because there's a lot of ways to really mitigate how much bad meat, if you want to call it that, you have to rely on if you're smart about your selections through the week. Follow all these tips. With that, remember that the cause of and solution to all of your problems, you can go find that person in the mirror. That mirror is probably in your bathroom. And on the floor of that bathroom, there's a scale. It's your friend, your enemy, based on how you treat yourself, what you feed yourself. With that, I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow with another episode of Jack's Low Carb Journey.